What are the three biggest myths of getting a PhD? Now, this is going to be focused on a business degree. That's what I know, but I think this is very applicable to all PhDs in terms of what we actually do. And it's really funny, and these myths really drive me bananas because they repeatedly occur, and I have to either repeatedly bite my tongue when they occur, or I have to just say, no, that's not necessarily true. So if you don't know me, I am Professor Dave Maslach. I've been doing this stuff for a long time. And I've also been building out the reciprocity project for a long time. So go and look at those videos. Look at what I'm trying to build to help you. What are these myths? The biggest myth that people think about this in doing a PhD, particularly in business, is that it's not serious. And that it's kind of like this sort of playful thing that you're going to go out and you're going to become the CEO of the next corporation in the world around us. And we're training CEOs. That's why you do a PhD. I'm going to beg you to go look at CEOs and see how many of them actually have a PhD. Very few of them actually do. And virtually none that I know of that are serious CEOs have a PhD in business. The idea that you're doing this for fun and you could do this on sort of a part-time basis, or that you are doing this for, it's something that you want to add to your resume, and then you're going to go and sort of do whatever it is that you're going to do, is totally false. Totally false. And it drives me bananas. Or you're going to get a PhD to just simply go teach someplace because that's the entry. That's what it means to be a faculty someplace, is you just need a PhD and then you can teach. All of this stuff is so far from the truth. It is a degree that's focused on research about core understanding of how we understand the world and how we get together as individuals and maybe machines and tools and get together to create both markets and organizations. And I know that sounds like really highfalutin stuff, because it often is. The ideas are really difficult and the demands are extraordinarily huge, right? So imagine that you're going to be reading likely 250 pages a day, and you're likely, if you're going to be highly successful, writing 10 pages a day on top of doing everything else that you're doing. And that is the expectation. So if you think that you can do this in your part-time, go nuts. I mean, I just don't think it's possible. I don't know of anybody that is serious that does this in kind of a part-time basis. It is an extraordinarily challenging and difficult thing for you to get into. Now, another myth that you're going to face, and I want you to stick with this video because it's going to sound like really depressing, but I'm going to help you sort of think about why we actually do these things. Another myth is that it's a guaranteed high-paying job, right? Like, you are going to do this and you're going to make a bunch of money by the time that you've done it, because you've looked at the salaries of either you looked at the salaries of business professors. They are higher than other degrees. And then, or you look at, like, I'm going to become a CEO, or I'm going to go and do consulting. That was actually, I thought of that. And that's the way that I was thinking about it early on. I was like, yeah, I'm going to become a consultant or something like that. That is totally false. It's totally false. Once you do the financial calculations of doing this, of taking out the opportunity cost, is what's called opportunity cost, what you could have made in replace of, and then you compound that in replace of being in the profession or doing the degree for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Now it's probably more like 6 or 7 years at a lot of places that are doing good stuff, that by the time that you actually do this and you compound it over your lifetime of investing that money or getting a real job, and you look at the split, I've done that before, and my break even is almost always sometime in my 50s. Now, I am 45, and I'm just starting to feel, I started my PhD when I was 25, and I'm just starting to feel like, okay, I'm over the hump. And it's starting to feel like, okay, there is a little bit, it's starting to see, I see the payoff now, but the payoff is not there for an extraordinarily long time. So don't expect it that it's actually going to pay off. And now I am a fortunate one. I am super lucky. I am more than fortunate to be here because I made it through. And I was it's very challenging to be dedicated. Now, what if you're at year 4 or 5 and you get something like terminal cancer, right? Like, it changes the formula at that point. So the probability, the likelihood that you're going to get a payback is very low by doing a degree like this. And even when you go and do this, for me, I'm staying in academia at this moment. That might change. I'm open to that. But I'm staying in academia, and my salary commensurate with my skill level is far below what I should be getting in industry for the comparable stuff. And I'm not just bragging, but that's the reality if you look at it. And you're always thinking about this. It's like, why the hell am I actually doing this? So that's the second myth. The last myth is actually thinking that the degree is simply just about research. And I know that I've stressed that so many different times, but it is a process of growth that you go through. And the research itself, because it's so rigorous and you're questioned so much, and you doubt yourself so much, and you think that you're a complete idiot so much, that you really understand what you're about, and you go through these sort of gut-wrenching moments where, you feel like you are completely worthless. But in reality, you're quite knowledgeable once you go through all of this kind of stuff. You just don't have that comparison. And then you kind of come back, and then once you go through all of this, you realize, like, hey, I'm actually a pretty confident and competent person in this particular, in a lot of different domains, and you begin to understand, like, I can actually do a lot of stuff. And you gain just a little bit, and I hope it's not too much, because I don't think it's really helpful. A little bit of smugness of like, hey, if I could do this, I could do a lot of stuff, because it's incredibly isolating. You're going to go through a lot of dark moments, and you think that you're always behind, all these kind of things. But once you get through it, you realize, like, I could do this. So why do we actually do this stuff, right? Like, why do we put ourselves through all of this pain and misery? I think the biggest thing, at least for me, first of all, I'm deeply motivated by challenges. I love doing things where I feel like I'm in the dirt. I feel like I can't get anywhere. I love that kind of feeling. And you permanently have that feeling where you're like, I'm just a complete, buffoon. But the most important thing is that if you do this correctly, and that's the key thing, I think that's where it's really difficult, and I think you get swayed in a lot of different ways because of the way that the market works. But if you do this correctly, you can follow your heart, and you can follow and do things that are important to you and important to a lot of people. And maybe it's the only thing that's the most important. That's why I hesitate. Is the only thing it should be is that it's important to you. And so if you do this right, and you find the right combination, and I know that, like, this is this is rare, but if you do this right, you can find a combination where you feel like you're constantly tackling something that is incredibly important to you, and it's a fun and joyous journey. But there is a lot that goes on because the market dynamics, and I talk a lot about this kind of stuff, the market dynamics push back against that a tremendous amount, but it's up to you to figure that out. And once you figure that out, and that's why I do a lot of these reciprocity videos, once you figure it out, it will become something important, endearing, and it will make you smile a lot of times, particularly if you find the right situation and you are doing things that are important to you. That's why I do the Reciprocity Project. It's important to me and it makes me smile. And there is very little, quote unquote, research output from it, but it's important to me. And I think like realizing that what is important to you and what gives you joy is the key thing. And it takes a lot. And here's the thing, the market is not going to reward most of those things. They're going to look at you and think that you're crazy, right? You might want to go to Africa and spend 2 years in Sudan, for example, and look at how, the rebuilding of Sudan is occurring, and it takes you 2 years, maybe it takes you 3 years, maybe it takes you 10 years. Everybody's going to say that you're crazy. Why are you doing that? That's super dangerous. But for you, it's important. And for you, that this is really, really helpful. And that is the only thing that matters. And all of that, it's not going to make you any money. It's going to be a god-awful amount of work. People are going to tell you that you're crazy and stupid and all that kind of stuff. And those thoughts are going on in your brain. But it's your thing. It's your baby. I want you to think about one of my heroes. And I don't know her and I don't know all of the stories, but Jane Goodall. Here's this person that goes off and explores what it means to work with apes and understand working with apes. And it's crazy. And nobody did it before. And you're going off into some jungle someplace and you're spending god-awful amounts of time understanding that. But that's what you do. And you love it. And that's why you do this. Is because you want to become passionate about something that is important to you. And you're going to be willing to go through all of these things. It has nothing to do with making god-awful amounts of money and becoming successful and conquering the career and all that kind of crap that you're going to come across. It's all about figuring out what you're about and being okay with it, no matter what people say about you, no matter what you say about yourself, that you're doing this because it's important to you. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.